Let's talk about the project selection and prioritization matrix. How do we complete it using the Google Sheet template I've provided? Follow the following steps. Go to the Google assignment, have one person from the team download a template from that assignment. So if we go to our Moodle, go to Project Evaluation Selection -team, and you will see the attachment sign under the assignment. So click on the attachment and click on that to open up a copy for you. Okay, once you reach this step, you need to open with Google Sheets. And then you need to share the template with your other team members so you can work on it collaboratively together. Once you complete the template, following all the steps in the video, and make sure you also include the amount of time you spend on this assignment by each person, as well as collaboratively. And then just have that same person who downloaded the template submit on behalf of the entire team. So one submission per team. So the first step you need to do is go open up a shared Google Doc with your team, or create a new Google Doc under the shared Google folder you already created for all the team members that will automatically be shared with everybody. And have everybody share their app ideas by copying and pasting into that centralized document. And then you evaluate all the criteria you have laid out and say which criteria actually will be used for your assignment. And I require you to come up with 4. The criteria you're going to be coming up with is going to be a little bit specialized for this project because this is a semester project. So you might want to include criteria, not just how competitive this app may be, or how many customers you can attract with this particular app. You can also include the feasibility of this app by completing within the boundary of the term, and how interested the team members are for this project. So you can come up with your own salient criteria for your own project as a team. So consider yourself as the most important stakeholders for this project. Once you decided on what criteria to use, you determine for each criteria what is the weight. 1 being the least important, 10 being the most important. Obviously, you want to select the 4 criteria that are more important and eliminate the ones that are not that important. So they should be, at least 5 and above, I would say, in terms of criteria range. Because you have 3 different members on your team, then each person might have a different perspective, how much the weight should be placed on each criteria. So I will ask you to actually use an average formula to calculate to summarize, average all the team members' assessments. So let's go in there and we'll come back to the other steps later. And you will see in the first tab is from the textbook Exhibit 2.12. And we're going to go and take a look at what's in here. The first set of things in row 2, you will see the criteria in this example, and the weight in row 4, you will see the weights, okay, for those 4 criteria. And you list for each project. In this case, we have 4 sample alternatives. In your case, it will be 3 or 4, depending on your team size. And then within the corner of each cell, for example, in this cell in row 5 and 6, you will see this particular corner with a number 5. What this means is you scored project A for the criteria new products as a 5. It got a score of 5. So in the mid-range, how this project will impact on new products. Okay, and then you take 5 multiplied by 10. that will give you 50. And I already inputted formula in row 6 here. You can see it has the formula in place. Okay, so you don't need to actually worry about calculations at all. So all you have to do is by filling in the information. So for the same steps, you evaluate for each criteria for that particular project, and then repeat the same process, score for each project, and then you will automatically calculate, and then the score will be summarized for each project in column J. Okay, so you will be using the template. So go to the template section. Let me just go ahead and delete some of the sample data I had in there. So you will be first starting with what are your criteria. Okay, so for example, you can say how much fun this project will be, so it'll be more motivational. You will have more motivation to work on this project. And what is the mass appeal of this? By the way, you can do Option Enter on Mac or use Alt Enter to have 2 lines, a line break for inside the cell. So mass appeal. Okay, so come up with your own criteria before you go any further. So this has to be done as a team. You come up with for the most important criteria. So now you're ready to enter the weight of your criteria. So this is where I want you to average based on your team's assessment. So go ahead and use the formula equals to average. And I want you to put each person's assessment. The first person said is a rating of 9. And the second person is said, well, is about 7-ish for the fun factor for this criteria. Another person said the fun is extremely important, so it's at 10. So it's going to average out these 3 criteria for you. Okay. And then you do the same thing for mass appeal. How important is this factor for your project? And you again take the average and you put in the 3 people's assessment again. Just making it up, 7, 8, 9, and then same thing, average of this. The assessment perhaps is 5, 9, and 10. And it's okay to be very different, but the idea is you take the average, becomes more a team-based assessment. Okay, and you do the next one equals to average. I'm just gonna put, maybe this one was a consensus. Everybody thought it was an 8. And once the criteria is done, you're ready to score. So again, each person will make their own assessment for each app. So let's pretend you have 3 apps. So we're going to complete for project A, B, and C. And again, we're going to use the average equals to average of each person's assessment for project A based on fun. Okay, so the first person thinks the fun factor for project A is relatively low. The next one said, well, it's pretty high. And the third one said it's also relatively high. So 6, 9, 8. So you take the average of that. That gives you the score for your project A. Automatically, it calculates what is the total score for project A for the fun factor by multiplying your score by the fun weight. Again, if you click on the formula, you can see that's calculating it correctly. Okay, so we do the same thing for the average score for the mass appeal factor criteria. So the first person said for this is relatively low, and the second person said for project A is relatively low as well at a 5, and the next person feels it's actually higher at 9. So you have your next score. Okay, so you complete everything in this fashion, and then let's see, for this one I'll do 8, 8, and 8. Okay, average, and let's say the scores are 6, 8, 9. Okay, obviously you have more reasoning when you have real ideas to assess. So I'm just putting things out here. And so you might want to actually format this a little bit with so many decimal points. Doesn't look really good. So you can actually select everything and maybe just round everything up, unless at the end you see there's a really close number into the decimal to decide. Otherwise, I think it's pretty safe to round them up to whole numbers. So it might look a little bit better this way. Okay. If you need to kind of separate the projects on each basic scores and the total score, feel free to have 1 or 2 decimals, but definitely not that many. Okay, so you follow the same steps, completing, assessing. Each member need to assess what is the score for project B for the fun factor, and what is score for project B for the mass appeal factor, and so on. And the score again will be automatically calculated. So at the end, I want you to add app selection, and you will say which particular app, and you can put the name of the app. Okay, so, and I also asked, if you remember, so we did that number 4. In number 5, you determine the ranking of the idea based on the score, and whichever has the highest will become your winning idea. Okay, and also earlier on, I wanted you to identify in part 4 the amount of time spent for each person and as a team. So go ahead, just put that information in right here. Maybe skip a line. You put each person's name, person 2, person 3, and you can label it time spent individually, and so skip a line, team time. Okay, so you just put in there personally you review the material, review the template individually for about 20 minutes. Person 2 may have spent a bit longer, maybe 45 minutes. So just give me an estimate however much you spent. And also as a team together, what did you do? And if you can tell me a little bit more about the interdependency, that's even better. If you did any kind of breakdown of 2 people work on it first, so if you have that kind of format, explain here a little bit too. And then tell me the amount of time as a team. Maybe you spend about 30 minutes to complete this. So obviously you need to make sure each person assess their own weight before you come together, so you have the numbers to plug in without having to influence each other. So perhaps what you can do, maybe you met as a team to go over what are the criteria, and once you have the criteria, have a section, maybe 5 minutes or so, individually each person assess what did they think the fun factor should weight. So heavy weight, lower weight, and have them ranking from 1 through 10, right? And then you probably would have done it for more than just 4 factors, and then you select from that huge set of factors to get the final 4. And then each person, once you decide on those 4 criteria, and then each person takes time to score the 3 or 4 app ideas on the score, and then you plug into the average formula to finalize, and then basically come up with the name of the app, and then you're pretty much done. Okay, so once you finish, submit by that person who downloaded the template to begin with and to finish it up. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to just email or send me a message on Slack. You can certainly send as a team. If you have a team question, send through the team channel. Thank you for listening, and let me know if you have any more questions.